Welcome to episode 3 of Cruise Control. The Bubba Wallace stuff will be at the end of the video, don't worry. And I apologize for the title, I just got to get in on those clicks, I got to grab the attention, maybe grab people who don't normally listen to my stuff, the random normies, and try and get them to, hate listen or whatever. We'll talk about that at the end. And I normally save these for when I have, 25 minutes, half an hour of things I want to talk about. That's why I don't make them every week. But these are just things I kind of want to talk about that aren't DFS related, just, me just kind of talking and ranting around and everything. So let's start with, daily drivers. And I don't mean cars or anything like that. I mean the people that we all drive around each and every day in our lives, whether it be in your neighborhood, your city, your town, your state, whatever the case is. Has the average IQ of American drivers, decreased ever since COVID happened? Because that's what I've seen. Ever since everyone got stuck inside for, a better part of a year, and they started, coming out of the woodworks again, and, we're opening everything back up. It seems like there's way more accidents on the roadway. There are way more people, driving erratically across, America right now. I don't know if that's up. They don't release, crash numbers until a year after, but I am very curious on what the numbers of incidents involving motorists and motor vehicle crashes are this year, because every time I drive around, and I'm not saying I'm the best driver, I'm just saying that I've been driving since I was 14. If you kind of listened to Stack and Denny's last week, you kind of learned a little bit about me, and long story short, I was in a situation to where, I lived out in the boonies during high school. My grandmother, who would, pick me up from school, broke her hip, and I had to get a driver's license fast. I fell into, I forgot exactly what it's called, but it's a situation where you can get your driver's license at a young age if there is legit no means of transportation for you to get to your home and to school. And so as soon as that happened, I ended up getting my license. And so I've been driving ever since, I was 14, 15, somewhere around there. Don't remember. I haven't been to an accident, but I've been driving for a good while now. I'm 23 right now, and this is by far the worst driving conditions that I've ever seen. Last month, actually, probably a month and 2 weeks ago, my girlfriend got ran off the road by this truck, not a semi-truck, like a legit dude, like in his, F-250 or whatever, and she got ran off the road, totaled her car, and even outside of that, like before, I would see people, cutting me off, cutting her off whenever she drives, cutting other people off when they're driving, people not using their fucking blinkers, despite the fact it's so easy to use. People speeding. There's nothing I get more annoyed with than people doing 65 and a 45, or people street racing, or people going above the speed limit. Go to a racetrack, go to a drag strip. If you want to feel the need for speed, go to a facility that can facilitate that need. Don't do it on public roadways. You're gonna fuck up and kill someone. I hate drunk drivers. I hate people that speed, and I'm just seeing more and more of those incidents. I don't know if you've seen it. Type in the comments below. Have you seen an increase of just people driving stupidly? Because I think on top of, people not driving a ton, last year, people not knowing how to park correctly in parking lots, people clipping, curbs, leaving, all these people in these big SUVs that have no business driving a vehicle that big, and then add on top the screens that they're throwing into these vehicles now, to where people are just kind of, distracted. I don't like newer vehicles a lot in general, but the touchscreens really get me because, I drive older vehicles. And so I like buttons on the console because it gives me, a physical feedback of if I, change a channel, or if I'm turning up the AC or turning down the AC, whatever the case may be, I can feel the response. I know what's going on. I don't have to look at, my center console when I'm driving down the road. Whereas when you're, basically typing on an iPad in your car, you have no response. The only response you have is you looking to see if that touchscreen took your input. And I think that, on top of people texting and driving and distracted driving, is just up and up. It's crazy. How are these people getting driver's licenses? Are we getting these out of cereal boxes now? I don't think it's been that bad. It's been bad over the years. I just feel like the uptick in that type of driving has just been crazy over the last year. Same thing And these types of people, I both love and hate them. And it's the people who use the HOV lane when there's legit like no passengers on there. Like here I am being like a good motorist. I'm in a 2001 Jeep Wrangler just chilling, and Johnny Big Cock over here flies by me doing 70 in the HOV lane in his lifted 2009 Dodge Ram. And I both hate him because he's like, yo, man, get in the road that we're all using at the same time. Man, I wish I had the nuts to do what you do, just flying down the HOV lane with no shits given. And I think the no shits given mentality has really yet again increased with COVID, because when you look at how shitty the country is, and this is not a political rant, I'm just saying what people are going through. Some people aren't able to pay their rent. Some people have lost their jobs. Some people are not being able to find jobs because so many people got laid off that a lot of the, I want to say, entry-level jobs, even like in IT and things of that nature, like if you're leaving college right now with, say, like not a 2-year degree, I don't remember what it is exactly, like certificate, like IT certificates, and you're going up against the guy who just lost his job and he's applying for the same thing. He's got a 4-year degree in IT or a 4-year degree in computer science. Like you're not going to get that job when you're competing against a guy with a 4-year degree. And so we're seeing a backlog of, one, people not being able to find jobs, two, people that want to work and that they just can't because they're getting outgunned by people who are overqualified for jobs. And then you obviously still have some people who are just choosing not to work because it makes more sense to not work and get help by the government versus actually getting jobs. And so life sucks right now. Life across the board is pretty hard for people. And we're going to segue into something that I've wanted to talk about here and there, but I'm very hesitant too, because I got to be very careful with my words in this situation. I don't want anything coming back at me in a bad way. But during my dog's going crazy. Give me a second. He's barking like crazy. Hold on. All right, I'm back. I don't remember what I was going to... Oh, yes, that's what I was going to talk about. So one of the main projects that I did in one of my AP dual credit class, don't remember exactly which one it was, but it was on school shooters. And so I specifically looked at the Columbine shooting, Virginia Tech shooting, and we're not going to get into the whole, what should be done about it. I just want to say that my hypothesis back then was that when people feel pretty hopeless and shitty in life, we're going to see an uptick in school shootings or workplace shootings and violence, and not even gun-related violence, but just violence in general. And so kind of going back to why has everybody been so shitty at driving, when you look at COVID, the amount of domestic abuse has risen. The amount of child abuse has risen because people were just stuck at home with their families that they end up, really finding out that they aren't happy in their lives. And I was telling my girlfriend probably during COVID, probably this time around last year, and I was saying, look, when schools start to open back up again, we're going to see school shootings rise up because we didn't have any school shootings because nobody was at school. Everybody was at home. Everybody's learning at home. You can't shoot a school, or you can't shoot up a school when everybody is at home. And so re-entering the school year, you're going to have kids that are just feeling absolutely shitty in life. I mean, their fucking parents hate them, or they're in a terrible living situation and they're too young to understand what they're going through. And we're going to see, these middle schoolers, high schoolers, find one of their parents' guns, or somebody makes them mad at school when they head back after they just had a shitty 2 years. Then they go back to school and they feel even worse, and nothing's stopping them from going and grabbing their parents' firearm and, shooting that kid who was bullying them, or making them feel shitty, or taking their, hatred out on their lives at people at school. And I don't really have a solution for that. It was just something that I figured would happen, and it's been happening this year because that's just how these people feel. They feel like they're just stuck in a bad situation. I do want to say that why I don't see a way to really stop that stuff happening. We need to be both thankful and extremely worried about what happens when people actually carry those things out and plan out and know what they're doing. Because a lot of incidents involving school shootings and stuff have been stopped by either the perpetrator like having a malfunction on the firearm, gun jam, something happens with it and they don't know how to clear the issue. And they get caught because obviously they can't keep shooting anything. Whereas, the main things that we have to worry about are people who both hate their life, both want to take people out and then go out in a blaze of glory and know what they're doing. Similar to the guy in Las Vegas. The fella in Las Vegas planned everything out and was a very, he executed his plan in pretty much flawless fashion. Like everything he planned out ended up going. When you look back at Columbine, you have Eric and Dylan who, while they're not experts and stuff, they went out, practiced with their firearms. They went out and, planned what they were going to do and ended up being very successful. Granted, they were the first one. There was a whole lot of countermeasures in place, police-wise for that, because it was really the first one of its kind here in the U.S. But same thing with Virginia Tech. I mean, like that guy was, he planned it out enough to where it's like, hey, I'm going to, chain doors shut so people can't escape so I can get them when they're not going. When you go and look at the guy who shot up those kids in the Watchtower at the college campus back in the 60s. He planned it out. He knew what he wanted to do. And so while the rise of school shootings is very concerning, and it's part of the reason why I didn't continue a pursuit into education, amongst other things. But for a time, I was looking into going to education, mainly history and things of that nature. I'm more worried for the situations when people and these guys who are acting this out, or the people who are doing this, actually, plan out and actually know what they're doing. Like if you have somebody who's actually trained with firearms, or somebody who's been around them their entire life, or someone who's familiar with the gun that they're using, whether you have a jam, you have a failure to eject, whatever happens, if somebody knows how to clear that and fix it, they're going to be way more deadly. Or if they understand how to use the firearm, or actually, let me say, like the New Zealand mosque shooting. I don't know if you've seen the video for that, or the GoPro footage of that, but he went in there and knew what he wanted to do. He wanted to get in and get out, and he was very deadly and effective. Like all we can do is really hope that we don't have incidents like that to where people actually plan things out and execute the plan. So that's my main takeaway with the school shootings. It was a situation where I knew they'd come up because people are heading back to school. People have nothing to lose. And so I'm not shocked by the rise there. I'm just shocked right now that we haven't had a massive school shooting this year to where, like multiple people are injured or killed, and somebody who's actually like knows what they're doing. And so I guess we can be thankful for that, but it's going to happen. Anyway, that was my kind of rant there. Not really kind of a poor, like I told you so. It's more so just me kind of venting and be like, I fucking knew this was going to happen. It was inevitable. Anyway, so moving on to that, let's talk about John Wes Townley for a bit. And this isn't related to the last topic, I'm just saying here. And so the other day I was on iRacing and, doing doing the good old official B class and whatnot. I think it was Saturday, whatever day the news came out on JWT, and when I read it, I was like, John Wes Townley got shot. That's odd. It's very difficult to get shot to death. In a sense of, obviously things can happen. But typically, if you're shot to death in a residential neighborhood or something happened for you to be in that situation. And so I was a bit hesitant. Obviously, the details weren't out yet. I was just like, that's kind of weird. Anyway, so I'm in the iRacing session, and I've been seeing Zaxby cars, the cars that John Wes Townley drove, and I was like, why is everybody like? I'm trying to think of how to say this without sound like a complete asshole. But why are people celebrating this John Wes Townley so much? And obviously I watched him race. I know who he is, but I mean, like, in my mind, before John Wes Townley was a fucking asshole. He was rude to his crew members. He was rude to his team. He was just there because of his money. He was not a very nice individual. And this is not me speaking ill of the dead. I'm just thinking in my mind, he was a pretty big asshole. And somebody, I ask, hey, what's up with all the Zaxby cars? And somebody responds on iRacing, well, like, John Wes Townley just died and blah, blah, blah. And before I answer this, somebody in the session calls me out and be like, "Hey, you're Brandon Cruz from BrandonCruzDFS. I watch your stuff." And I was like, "Thank you very much," because that's the first time I kind of been recognized and stuff, or kind of talked to outside of, um, people recognizing me for this type of stuff and not necessarily anything else. And I said thank you to him, and then I went back and I said, well, John Wes Townley wasn't that good of a human being. It's kind of odd that he got shot to death. I just find it kind of odd that everybody's kind of uh, talking, like saying "Rip John Wes Townley," or too young, all the good ones die young, and things like that. I was like, we need to wait for the full story to come out. And of course, I get shit thrown at me because, oh, you're an asshole. What are you talking about? Well, obviously, later you hear the story of, he's coming at. He was throwing axes and acting sporadic and stuff. And again, we don't have the full details. This is kind of just me spitballing and talking about it. But like, this is why I kind of always wait before I start saying, rip somebody or rip this or rip that, because we don't have the full story. And now I was seeing some people like, they tweeted, rip John Wes Townley, I love watching race, blah, blah, blah. And then, 4 hours later, they're like, ooh, I was looking into this story more and it's getting dark. It's like, ooh, yikes, sheesh, a lot of things like that. And it's just odd seeing people, kind of flip flop. I'm not saying some people were like, oh, fuck John Wes Townley again, but they were like, this kind of taints his image and whatnot. I don't know. I found that kind of humorous this last week. And then I was also thinking that, Gateway was already putting together promos of him and, who was it? Was it Gallagher? I don't remember who it was, but him and the other guy having sex on the racetrack at Gateway, that wrestling match they called a fight. I'm sure they were going to use that for a lot of promos. I'm pretty sure they're just scraping that from the database, and you're probably never going to hear John Wes Townley's name again or anything mentioning that Zaxby car, and that was just, a bit interesting there. So yeah, man, a lot of things happened in the past 24 hours, even before the whole Bubba Wallace incident. And so I wanted to save this last. Obviously, I'm a Bubba Wallace fan. I just don't like the fact that he's kind of being thrown into a lot of situations that I don't think he was prepared for mentally. And I was rooting for the guy, but I still almost felt bad for him a lot of this year, because I think he had a tremendous amount of pressure on him. I was very happy to see Bubba Wallace win. It was cool seeing everybody congratulate him. I wanted him to get the win, but we do have to talk about this, the whole rain short races and things of that nature. And so I was not going to die on this hill on Twitter. There was no fucking way I was going to tweet anything, because I was not going to just get shit blasted beyond belief. But I've always said, and Rick Mass, I want to bring up what Rick Mass said first. And so Rick said that he would happily give his left nut for a rain-shortened victory. And I'm going to double down with you, Rick. Like, I'd happily give both my testicles, both my legs, and probably my left arm for a Winston Cup victory, whether it was a full race or a rain-shortened race. Doesn't matter. I would love to have a win under my belt. But I've always said, whether it's NASCAR, whether it's local short track racing, whatever the case may be, rain-shortened races, sure, they still go down the history books as a stat, and I don't think they should have an asterisk by them or anything. But it's, in your heart, it's not it's a real win, but there's just always, questions around it, or, it's not a full victory in my mind unless the full race is ran. And this is not talking shit about Bubba Wallace. You can go back and look at Jeb Burton's win at Talladega in the spring when it was rain short. And it was like, oh man, like we didn't even get to the end. There was a lot of guys who could have won that race. You got Justin Haley winning in 2019. He won because he stayed out. Kurt Busch didn't win because he didn't stay out. There's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts, and so I'm happy for Halley. It's just always kind of, not questionable, but always interesting whenever it's somebody's first win and it's a rain-shortened race, because you're always wondering, can they actually repeat it, or can they get a win under green? You go all the way back and you see Clint Boyer winning in 2018 in Michigan. he won a race that had 133 laps completed out of 200. You know, good for Clint Boyer. He got another victory, but at the same time, it's like, it's a full win, but it's kind of like a hollow victory. You got a hollow feeling. You know, you have Carl Edwards at Texas in 2016. And then obviously Chris Buescher's first win, his rookie year at Pocono when the fog rolled through. Like, you can't tell me that, I mean, unless you're just a huge optimist and you see the world completely glass half full 24 hours a day, you can't tell me that Chris Buescher's Pocono victory that ended because of fog is equivalent to, say, Dale Earnhardt winning the 500. Maybe, well, we won't use that because the 500 is a bit higher. But let's say, let me think of a race this year that has, so like Kyle Larson's win at any of the tracks he's won at this year. So you're telling me that truly you 100% you're behind the team that Chris Buescher's win, you know, in a fog-shortened race is equivalent to like Kyle Larson just whooping ass in the Coca-Cola 600. Like, legit having the fastest car, deserving to win. Nobody is arguing that Kyle Larson deserved the win of the Coca-Cola 600. And nobody's arguing that Chris Buescher didn't deserve it because he wasn't first at Pocono. But it's not equivalent. Like, it's kind of like a hollow feeling. I was at Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s final victory at Phoenix. You know, it was pouring rain, and God knows that I wanted the race to go back green because I paid a lot of money. I drove out to Phoenix, yada, yada, yada. But it's pouring rain, and so I'm not saying I celebrated the win as much, but I remember I'm walking back to our truck, my mom and I, because it's just soaking rain. No, we're actually walking back to our bikes because we brought bikes that year to make it easier. And so we're walking back to our bikes. We're walking down the stairs down to the grandstands, and then over the intercom you hear that the race is official. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is your winner or whatever. And obviously everybody cheers because it's Junior, but at the same time you're like, hey, you know, good for Junior, but you know, I paid $300 fucking for these seats and got to see 219 laps. So, you know, I'm happy for Junior. That's his last victory in the stat column. It's there. You know, that's another win for all these guys. Everybody who's ever won, you know, a rain shortened race. You can even go back to Kurt Busch in 2015. You can go back to Eric Almirola at Daytona in 2014. All these are victories, but they're kind of hollow victories. Very equivalent to if you play video games and you bottom frag, say like in Counter-Strike, and your team wins, but you bottom frag, you have the least amount of kills, most amount of deaths. You really didn't do a whole lot teamwork wise, but in the stat column, you still got a W. You still got a win. It's still there, but you kind of know that, like, man, you know, I got lucky. I had a lot of things go well, but this was not a game that I carried. This was not a game I kind of really deserved to win. There was a lot of rounds that could have gone different, and just like Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace, I'm not on the side of he shouldn't have got the win. They should have called it. I'm happy Bubba has the win. It's very historic. It was awesome to see him get a win. Awesome to see his reaction. I'm very happy for Booty Barker. I think that's awesome for Booty to finally have a win. And so I'm happy with Bubba Wallace's win. At the same time, I wish Bubba Wallace's first victory came in a race where he won it under green, just for the history books, just because you know people are still going to give Bubba almost more shit now, because until Bubba gets a second win, and God forbid this is Wallace's only victory, man, God help him if that's the case, because he's going to get shit blasted no matter when everybody sees him. And I know Ryan gave me a ton of shit because he was like, I told you Wallace was going to get a win. This is kind of what I mean. Like, the 23 car was off pace this year. Sure, it's a plate race, and sure, Bubba's always fast at these plate races. But even Denny Hamlin, I feel like Denny Hamlin probably got shit within his own team because Denny was like, hey, we can't expect to win right off the bat, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, somebody's like, Denny, I told you we win. I fucking told you we get the W this year. And, you know, it's not because of Bubba. I don't care at all. It's just, you know, rain-shortened races, I like to have the whole feature done. Uh, I've been at many rainouts, at short tracks and stuff, or local dirt tracks, to where, we've had races in, 8 laps into a main event or something like that. And they give the checkered flag to somebody to whoever's leading at that point, and you congratulate them and stuff because hey, you won the race. This is your win. It just, kind of a shame that we didn't get the whole thing. It's kind of races who that end under yellow back in the day, or even an IndyCar. Just like these races end under green, give everybody a shot. Lastly, like with all the races that I've won in my sim racing career, and I don't mean on the official service, I mean like legit either leagues or series I was in that I was sponsored or paying money to get into. I think I got 6 wins in like leagues and big events and stuff, and I think 4 of those are either races that ended under yellow, or the 2016 I've Got Balls 250, when I came out of turn 4, I was in 16th, the whole field wrecks in front of me, and I crossed the line first. I can't, the IGB, which is being, rebranded this year as the Winstall 400, $1,000 purse race, no entry fee, a big event that I like to be a part of and help sponsor and promote. I'm happy that I have that win. Did I deserve it? No, I didn't deserve that victory. It's a bit of a hollow victory, and I want to get another one to say that hey, I deserve to have this win. It's kind of the same thing with these rating races. It's I'd like to have more wins under. I'll take wins ending under yellow or ending because people wreck and stuff. And I'll if I was a real life racer, I would happily take a win under a rain shortened race. At the same time, man, it's nice to win full races at the same time. So I don't agree with the whole asterisk stuff or putting things aside, guys who win rain shortened races, but deep down we all kind of know that it's not a real win. Like it's a real win, but in your mind or like deep down your gut, you're like, it's not a real win. Let's end it on a fun discussion here. So, kind of another high school story. I went to not a pre-college school, but a school that valued education over like athletics and stuff. And so we had a basketball team. No, I don't want to out the school I went to. Can't say that story. Anyway, so we had a basketball team that would play locally against other high schools and stuff. My senior year, and we hadn't had a basketball team that played for 2 years because of an incident that happened at the state level, to where basically the state of Texas banned our school from competing in basketball. And this was like our first home game in God knows how long. And so I bought a ticket and stuff, and this is when, yet again, I was playing DFS in high school, and the visiting team comes in here. And I'm used to, football fans and going to football games and other sporting events to where the fans are loud, home crowd advantage or home field advantage. And it's me, some students, and I hate to say this now, but some parents of the players and whatnot. And, I'm an obnoxious, 18, 17-year-old, however old I was, probably 18. And, these kids start playing basketball, and our team's kind of whooping their ass. It's kind of a bit of a blowout at the end of probably after the first, when is it, basketball? So it'd be periods, right? Quarters? No, it'd be periods. So probably, end of first period, second period or whatnot. Our team is pretty high in the lead, probably up by like 25, 30 points and whatnot. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to have some fun here. And I start... And the crowd's been dead the whole time. And so I'm like, I'm going to have some fun. Let's root on our team. And so anytime our team would go and score a basket or do a three-pointer or whatever, I'd be like, woo, yeah, go. And then anytime the other school would come into our side of the court, I would start talking a lot of shit. Not like cursing at them, but I remember, standing in the bleachers, and we have a pretty small bleacher section and a pretty small, gymnasium. So my voice would echo like crazy. And I don't have the deepest voice, but if I yell, I get pretty loud. And I would start yelling, "You suck! What was that throw? Do you want us to put our kindergartners out there to play against you?" And I could tell that it was bothering the other team. And I, like our coach is not really sure what to do because he's never really had to worry about this before. I'm pretty sure I got parents staring at me. I got other classmates kind of laughing. And so, I'm just getting positive feedback at this point to keep doing it. And I remember the other team would, get penalty shots and whatnot to where they throw or they get free throws. And as you can tell, I don't really care about basketball a whole lot. But, they're doing their free throws and stuff. And I'm just shit talking like crazy. I'm like, "You suck. You're not going to hit it." I'm pretty sure, I'm like, "Man, I bet your mom's embarrassed that you've missed the last 4 free throws," or whatever. Just things like this. Like, not cursing, but being pretty, throwing daggers at him. And I could tell that it was bothering him. And that's probably the most fun I've ever had in my life at a basketball game. A high school basketball game with another school, a bit of a crowd, but not much, and being the only loud guy there, like a loud drunk who thinks he's the prime interest of everybody there. I was having so much fun. I was a bit of an asshole in school, and that was just so much fun, just talking absolute shit to this other team. So that was a lot of fun for me. And I wanted to end this on a higher note than just ending with Bubba Wallace, calling out Bubba Wallace or calling out any rain shortened race, because you know how I feel. On Twitter, you could just see, "Well, actually, so and so won this race, so and so won this race. At rain short, is this not a real victory? Blah blah blah." It's in there. I know it's a real victory. Bubba Wallace won a race. I'm very happy for him. At the same time, I wish it would have been a full race. I wish his first victory was a full distance race, because now I feel like he's going to get even more shit because people are going to give him crap saying that he could only win in the rain. NASCAR gave it to him, which NASCAR didn't give it to him. It was raining. They would have called it anyway. But I feel like people are just not going to keep respecting Bubba Wallace. And then, next time Bubba does something with other athletes that they don't like, it's just going to get worse for Bubba. So I wish it would have been under better circumstances. But that's about it for me. So thank you for letting me rant about a ton of things. And if you're still here, thank you for listening. If you're not, I completely understand if you unsubscribe to me. But we'll see you later this week for the Charlotte Roval playoff races. And yeah, if you want to support me, feel like donating. I don't take any sponsors. I decline all my sponsors. So it's all funded on Patreon and YouTube ad revenue and donations through PayPal. So thank you very much.